Hello again, average moviegoers. The Testament of Anne Lee has finally hit a theater that might be closer to you, so let's talk about whether this movie is divinely inspired or not worth bearing witness over. There are movies you believe in, and there are movies you endure. The Testament of Anne Lee forces you to choose. And I'm a believer. The Testament of Anne Lee is stunning, and it's stunning right from the first shot. There's something in the framing, in the music, in the blocking where you just know that you're in the hands of an artist. What we got, what shows up on screen, what we hear, every fiber of this movie feels crafted by technicians who are artists, all rallying around a unique vision and point of view. This is why we go to the movies. This is why AI cannot replace storytellers. And this is why movies are an art form, not just content. What I appreciate most about The Testament of Anne Lee is that whether I left feeling like it was my favorite movie or whether or not I even liked it is inconsequential. I was in the hands and under the care of an artist witnessing what they wanted to create. And that was a special feeling. Just the sense of knowing that what I was seeing was a close rendering of what someone had in their head and they made it a reality. It might make me uncomfortable, it might be unconventional, it might be enigmatic at times, but it's what Mona Fastfold wanted to show me. I don't know whether that's true. I don't know whether Mona would say that, but the film feels uncompromising. It feels meticulously crafted. It feels as if Mona got to make exactly what she intended. It cultivated a sense of surrendering and trust, which is rare in a cinematic experience. Heck, it's rare in general to be able to say to an artist, I see you have a point of view here. I see you have a journey to take me on. I see you have something to say. Let me listen. Now, I fully acknowledge that to whom this occurs and with what piece of work is entirely unpredictable and subjective, which is why most critics would shy away from such an emotionally charged, almost mystical description of what a movie did to them. But that's why I'm an average viewer and not a critic, because I don't want to intellectualize everything and generalize everything. This film had that effect on me, and I can't promise that everyone is going to experience that, and you might think I'm crazy. In fact, someone walked out of my screening, so it wasn't happening for them. But I think that we have a responsibility as humans to remind others and ourselves that experiences like this are why human-created art is meaningful. Thousands of people poured their souls into this movie, and it feels like it. Even if you don't end up liking it, the artistry and intentionality of the work is undeniable. That said, I did like it. And let's talk about more tangible reasons why. This is a cradle-to-grave narrative. It's not a biopic about the time period in someone's life when they got famous or did something significant. This is an attempt to unfold the events of an entire life and interrogate meaning from them. It's a fascinating plunge into someone's life who is a prophetic figure. Anne Lee was believed by her followers to be the second appearance of Christ, but like Jesus, she was born and had a childhood and grew up before seeing herself and her followers seeing her as divine. And that's true of all religious leaders and every person on this earth who has founded a religion or claims to be enlightened. They were born, had a childhood, had trials and tribulations, and led others to a sense of meaning and purpose in spite of their sufferings. The highlight of this movie is its potential to generate thought and introspection about these themes, like faith and how it's developed, why it's important, how theologies emerge, how prophets are created, how people express their devotion in diverse ways that can be strange and upsetting and lead to prejudice. I mean, the story of religion is the story of the human experience and human history. And the Testament of Anne Lee invites us to think about all these things. The tone is unlike anything I've ever seen before. It feels like it's emulating the rhythm of the Shaker movement. It can feel operatic and serious and then light and ecstatic. It reflects the Shakers' form of worship, and it feels like a continuous song. If you just listened to the movie, just turned off the image and heard it, you might find that the narration bleeds into the score, which bleeds into the musical numbers, which leads back to the score, which is setting up the next musical number, and so on. This movie isn't afraid to be unconventional. For example, if you study screenwriting, you'll hear that you should never write something that isn't a story beat. Like, why would you write someone walking to the store when you can just cut to them in the store? But this movie doesn't always do that. Sometimes there's a sequence of people just walking for a minute or two, just letting us hear the score and feel the world. And it makes you appreciate the fact that not every movie needs to follow a formula of proven rules. This isn't the hero's journey. It's a prophetess's journey, and it's a tragic one in many ways, and it's euphoric in others, and the film isn't afraid to bend conventions to create this worship-like tone. This movie is supposed to create a sense of legend. Once someone is revered as a prophet, their life becomes something you can never separate from the legend and mythos of the individual, and so this movie tells the story like it's scripture. That's why it's called The Testament of Anne Lee. It's a scriptural, speculative retelling of her life and what could have led her to believe the things she did about feminism and celibacy, while also treating her story with sincerity and showing what it must have been like to have faith in her and the idea of her as mother. Sequences are designed to wash over you, in a way to make you a believer, not in the sense that you convert, but a believer in the power that the movement had. You can see the appeal, you can see the attraction, you can understand how grieving, suffering, guilt-ridden, fear-consumed people found respite in this supportive mother. About 30 minutes in, I was overcome with emotion and began to sob, simply because I had never seen anything like what I was seeing. I was so moved at the level of craft, so astonished at the achievement and the complexity of orchestration needed to pull off that scene, that I just had to sob. It's strange and beautiful and jaw-dropping and heartbreaking, and most of all, it's non-judgmental. It treats Anne Lee with dignity. It's very earnest and sincere. It treats the prophetess and her visions as real, at least to her and her followers. It shows their form of worship as legitimate. And again, that's why we need artists. They're people who create empathy for viewpoints outside of your own. Too few people today are aware enough to acknowledge, hey, that person that I look down upon for worshiping a different way than I do, maybe they're just as sincere as I am. Just a few final thoughts. There's so much care and attention to detail. The singing is unpolished, sometimes off-key. It's not always beautiful. The accents had to be developed. We don't know exactly how people sounded back then, and what they come to just feels right. The choreography is breathtaking. There are matte paintings used instead of green screens. The diegetic elements of the world, like clothing rustling, they never disappear when the music kicks in. All these details elevate the film and make it so baffling to me that this movie didn't get a single Oscar nomination, especially for Amanda's performance. But also production design, music, original song, like I've lost all faith in the Academy. That's it for me, you guys, and The Testament of Anne Lee. Go bring justice to this movie for its Oscar snubs by checking it out in theaters. Hopefully I didn't create too grand of expectations, but honestly, I just want to engage in the dialogue with you guys that this movie cultivates. So let me know what you thought of it. If you're planning on seeing it, be respectful, be courteous. Don't exteriorize your rottenness. That's from the movie. Back up your opinions, but remember that art is subjective, and above all else, keep watching movies and stay average.